Yeah.
If we're done filming, I'm taking my new shirt off.
Why?
Because I don't want to mess it up.
Oh yeah, you can get another one.
Yeah.
All right.
Is this stainless?
Yeah.
You gotta make sure we don't overspray none of that. Keep that clean.
Well, I'm gonna polish it. I'm not.
We want to overspray it.
Well, I gotta well, I can't do nothing with this. I've gotta, when I paint it, I gotta paint like 1/8 of an inch in. No light. Trying to see if this is back. All right, so we're back on. So I got to paint 1/8 of an inch right here because this is stainless, and I introduced iron into it, mild steel, so it'll rust in there about that far. So I got to do that, and then I'm going to polish it. Then my dad's making the tips.
No problem.
So I guess JJ, we're back on. I don't know what happened, and I don't know if everybody's back or not. I see like 9 people. Let me tell this guy back up. But you're not doing any more Camaro stuff, right? I don't know.
I wonder if I can pull up the old chat so that I can talk about.
Yeah, we gotta find out who won.
Yeah, I said it out loud, but I couldn't repeat what I said.
It was AR.
Yeah, AR Garage.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I got him on my
okay, good.
chat, I believe. I'm gonna send him this link.
Well, I haven't anything.
So, but anyways, camera's back, and I guess I can move it, or Aaron can. I don't know how much. We got about 62%, so she can roll for a minute. But like I said on the tail panel part, if you didn't replace those braces, Aaron's over here.
I had it on you, hon.
I can't tell.
Well,
if I didn't replace those, well, I can set them off of there. If I didn't replace the rear floor and that part, I would definitely make my holes match those, because you know it works. And as long as everything on the tail panel, all your gaps and stuff are working out, then I would say it's the tail panel that's wrong.
671 GMC is back on, so he heard you.
So last night we were talking about the door and skinning and body working, trying to hammer it, and I said to hammer it tight. JJ come in, he's the body man, I'm not. He said that I need to hammer them tighter. So I'm gonna pull this door off, and he is actually saying that I might need to hammer the outside, which I've never done. So like I say, I'm learning something new tonight. I'm gonna pop this door off and we'll figure it out.
Most people don't want to hammer the outside because they know it's going to leave marks, and they know they might wind up working that edge. But the bottom line is you have to hammer that to make that tight enough, because it is going to close this gap when you do that. So you've got to make sure this fender can move forward. Obviously it will, but most people don't want to beat on this, and you don't necessarily have to beat on it, but you have to hammer on it just enough to make it nice and tight, because the last thing you want is this door skin moving every time you open that door, and that door flexing and moving, and the skin doing this and breaking the paint. So I recommend a small tack every 6 inches.
Yeah, I'm gonna tack it
just so that it doesn't move when you're opening, closing. Obviously we want to grind that smooth and make it disappear with a sweet seam sealer all the way around. But this, by not hammering this flat, what happens is it gets fat, and this won't be flat, you know. So we want to hammer that down flat. And if you've not been, in the body world for 25 years, obviously you wouldn't have any idea. But you have to hammer this flat. Yes, you probably are going to have to skim this with a little bit of mud. It'll be very minimal, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
But once we get this hammered nice and tight, we're going to tack it on the back side, and we're going to take the file take the file after it's nice and tight, and we're gonna make sure. See all that? See how high that is? See how that's just jumping out? But once we get this hammered flat, we won't have that problem. So, we want these two panels to be as flat and perfect together as they can. Obviously, this car is very important. Obviously, it's going to seamless, so it's a big deal. So, it has to be absolutely perfect. So, what we're going to do now is we're going to pull the doors, we're going to lay them on the stand, and we're going to hammer and dolly them nice and flat. And then I'm going to file them on the stand. Then we're going to put them back on the car and make sure it's as perfect as it can be with this. If there's little dimples and dents where we hammered and dolly, no big deal. We'll skin it just a little bit and we'll make sure it's as perfect as it can be. But Craig worked all this for us this afternoon when I was over here, trying to make sure that the bottom line is, especially being a black car, I mean, it has to be, but you see how the difference, see that? You see the difference on how high this panel is versus this panel? This car being where it is and where it's going has to be seamless and perfect. So we're gonna pull the door, we're gonna hammer it all flat, I'm gonna file on it a little bit on the stand, and then we're gonna put it back on the car and see how it fits.
So,
I like it.
sorry we lost y'all. Aaron's been complaining about the
About
internet.
JJ being late?
The internet is horrible.
And our internet IT guy has been on vacation, so he said he'll be back in the office tomorrow, so maybe we'll get some resolution by our next Tech Talk.
This is how it goes. Off on with the doors.
Josh said put something on that head, JJ, so we can all see.
Sounded real funny.
I did turn the AC on for him. I like to work with the doors open because it seems like it's dark outside and you open up the doors and it's nice and sunny out.
This is real. I mean, you did really nice right here. I mean, if you want to get in on this,
Yep.
this is really good. This is really nice, Juby. Really nice. But as you can see from this side, this is about as tight as you're going to be able to get that from this side.
Yeah.
So what we're going to have to do, we're going to have to hurt the other side's feelings for a minute. But
Well,
we will do it.
Like I say, when I build cars, I build it how I build it to. I'm not into profiling and gapping a car. I get it to where it's workable, and then it goes. I gotta leave some for the body man. The
That's
body
what
man's
Scott-
gotta eat too.
But I'm into styling and profiling, so
Yep.
that's what we got to do. I got to go find me a dolly because I don't know what Craig is.
Craig's is in the drawer, and I got a cheap, crappy one.
Six- 671 GMC said thank you for all the good information, Juby.
Yeah, I appreciate you joining us, and maybe next week I'll be back on the actual floor build. It's just when I got help on this, I gotta accept it and I gotta run with it, because I've got 17 weekends to have this thing up, running, and driving.
And at 40-something years old, you want to learn body work.
Yeah, I am no body man. I hate sanding, but there's gonna be a lot of it.
JJ's here to school you.
Yeah, he's here to scold me. But yeah, if you have any more questions, whenever I'm done with the show or whatever, you got my messenger. All you gotta do is send me a message,
Or you can comment below and we'll
and I'll help
reach
you. Or you
out.
can comment now, and I'll take a minute over there and talk about it. But like I say, on that floor, if I didn't replace it, if the car come in and I was putting a tail panel on it, I wouldn't move that stuff. I would make my holes match the factory floor. Especially if all my gaps and everything's profiling right and the tail panel lays in on the quarter panels good, I wouldn't touch it. I would just make them holes match the floor and throw some bolts in it and ride it out.
Ken W is on board. Hey Ken, he says he's been real busy with a full floor, new trunk, all new body panels except for the driver's door, primed and painted last Friday. Now he knows why he does not do that for a living. He said wet sanding is not fun.
You find one?
Yeah, I got one.
I don't know where the one I got came from.
Yeah,
You took all
somebody
of
gave you one of those old junk models.
You took all of them.
JJ Sandy John says to tell you hello, Sandy John.
Oh, hello, Sandy John.
And Ken said thank you for the tips.
I think the one I had, I gave it back to you.
That's not a bad dolly though.
Well, Craig
It's
says,
smaller and not quite as heavy, but it's porous.
yeah, Craig
It is
says
porous.
that it's not a solid.
See how this is a solid? See
Yeah,
how
he
you
said
got all
this-
that? It's a big difference
He
right
said
there.
this is softer and it'll flex more.
And a lot of people don't realize when you're hammering metal, I'm sure GB's probably hit on this before, but a lot of people want to straight on. Fine, but if you're trying to close a gap, if you take that hammer, I call it planishing. I'm not sure if that's the proper
Yes.
terminology. But what I'll do is I've seen GB do it a million times, but you just roll the hammer that way. That's pushing metal that away.
Push the metal off. And I can
That's-
actually tell by looking at where he's hammered now that it has worked itself out a good bit.
About 1/8 of an inch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easy, and so that's going to close the door gap up 1/8 of an inch. You got hammer on dolly, which is directly on dolly like that. Pretty invasive. But now I don't know if you can see with the camera, but see how tight this is? See how tight that line is versus how fat this line is? And you can actually see, I don't know if the light's good enough, but you can actually see this metal
Yeah, you
goes
can
down
see
and
the-
dips.
Yeah. Ooh, I don't know what button I just hit. But yeah, you can see it at what he was talking about, how it
And you can see where it dips in, but up here,
pumps and dips.
this is already a little bit lower. But see how this is nice and tight?
That's what we want to do on the whole door.
We all like it nice and tight.
Hey.
That's just what it is, you know what I'm saying? But yeah. Sorry, I got
And I'm over here with my mouth wide open. Because yeah, I'm over here with my mouth wide open because I'm like, this car's extremely expensive, and he's beating on it with a hammer.
What if I
And I'm
use it?
like-
How you gonna feel when I start using this thing?
That's There's a girl named Misty Jones that says, "Who's the new guy? He sure is a good-looking man. Is he single?"
She must be blind.
Uh-oh.
Hey, Misty.
And you know, it gets round, you just flip your dolly over, and she's usually around.
This is kind of like when I'm working on a car in here and a customer shows up. I don't like to work on a car with the customer here because I don't like for them to see me beating on it, ratcheting on it, doing all that stuff, throwing tools, because it's like going to have knee surgery or something. You don't want to see it, what they're doing to you, because it's horrible. But me sitting here, built this car, and watching him beat on this is like just making me cringe. I'm like,
What people have to understand, though, seriously, in this world anymore, especially as we get older, people have to stop and listen. Don't ever say, dude, I don't need to hear what you got to say. Dude, I know what I'm talking about. If you'll just stop and listen to what that man's saying,
mouth shut.
I might take what Juby's telling me and what I'm already thinking I should be doing. I might put those two things together. Hell, I might come up with something better than either one of us had to start with.
Yeah.
So I listen to Juby. Juby listens to me. Juby is wonderful with metal. That's an understatement. He's way better at that than I am. But it's just trades. I've been doing this for, I guess, pushing 30 years now. You know, a long time.
Yeah.
But I don't have the talent and the gift. GB actually has a gift when it comes to this metal, and I'm not even exaggerating. It's ridiculous.
He's trying to make
No,
out a
I'm
big
not
ass.
trying. I ain't bullshitting about it. I'm just
Being
telling you,
modest, being modest.
I'm just
what you're
being
doing right
honest.
now is an art.
You know, and so
But
is
that's
what
what
I'm
I
doing.
say. I
So
don't-
is what
That's
I'm
what I'm saying. What
I don't
you're
do
doing
this.
is
Right.
He does this stuff, and I have no doubt in my mind that what he's doing is correct and that he's gonna make it right. That's why I say we're not doing this, so I don't get to see this side of the process. I know about building it, and I know that it takes beating and pounding and stuff that I just don't like the customer to see. And that's the same with the body work. He's doing stuff that he don't like the
scary.
customer.
The unknown is scary.
Yeah.
Well, they don't understand what you're doing.
Yeah.
They don't understand
They
that
just
see you beating.
sometimes you got to get rough with stuff to make it fit.
Yeah.
You know, no parts are perfect, no people are perfect, but we can all go in together and make sure.
And
it's
somebody
close to
watching probably
perfect,
got a
you know?
different way of doing this.
Yeah.
We do have a skinning
Yeah.
tool that will tighten it down, but you can't use it on this. It's
And to
just-
be honest with you, I've been doing this for almost 30 years. I've never once used a skinning tool.
yeah, I don't use
I've
it.
always done it by hand.
I
But
do it by
that's,
hand.
That's just me, though.
And that's
just me.
another reason this is probably not super tight is because when I dollied it, I used a block of wood.
That's right, you did.
definitely
And I
good,
used
yeah.
the wood because I don't
How
like
heavy
to
that is
dent.
versus
Yeah,
I know.
so if I'd ran a dolly on the back side, it probably would have been tighter because I'm using.
Well, let me finish running this down,
Yeah.
and then I want to show them what we're going to do with the file. And we'll take the file and we'll cut it off. Obviously, you can't cut too much off. And I'm also going to file it this way as well. But you can't get too crazy with it because there's only so much door skin that's wrapped around.
You can't. You can put it back
So,
on.
I
You're
guess
just talented.
Yeah, right. Hey, we got a welder, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know what they say, if it ain't right, paint it white. So I'm glad this car's going white.
No, it's black. And I do got more skins. Trust me.
I know it's
I guess
black.
while he's hammering, I'm gonna walk back here and I'll talk about welding.
Y'all take a commercial break.
I'm gonna talk about welding while he's hammering it. I'm gonna get close and I'm gonna talk loud because he's hammering, and I wanted to take a minute because I was going to explain why we weld from the front to the rear. This is a charger, or this is the cornet.
This is a charger.
Yes.
Charger.
I couldn't remember if this was the cornet. There's the cornet's behind it. This 68 charger.
Yes.
And basically, the process is the same with all the cars that we build. And I'm going to explain why I started the front and work my way back. The concept of a car is your door is got to be in a designated location. So your door is what's going to set the rear of the car and the front of the car. So usually, no, not usually, every time, B-bodies here, we have to get this location of this pillar in the right spot. So we have measurements that we pull from here to the front hole up here. Some of the jigs, I have a spot mark, a designated location on the jig, and I pull from there and I have measurements. This one don't have it. It hadn't been updated since I changed the system. But I pull my measurements and get this pillar in the correct location. This is factory, this is factory. So I know that once I get this here, then my firewall is gonna meet against this, and then my floor is gonna meet against the inside, and that's gonna set my build. The reason we started the front is you hang your door. I do a technique of where I rock my door, I tighten one bolt on the bottom, one bolt on the top. I loosen the top bolt, I rack my door all the way down, I scribe a line. I rack my door all the way up, I scribe a line. That gives me the center of my bolt location. So I'll put a line in between those two that I can visually, you ain't gotta measure it out, but just Put your line in there so you know that your door is centered. Lock that one down. Do the same with the bottom. Rack it up, rack it down, scribe, center, lock it down. That gets your door locked into place. Your rocker height off your jig is gonna be set. It's gonna be even. All of them are even. The front measurement needs to be the same as the rear measurement. So when you got your door hanging and it's centered, you'll be able to look down and the rocker should profile perfect with the bottom of the door. If it don't, then your pillar is probably leaning or leaning back, leaning forward, leaning back. Might need to exit out. We have a measurement for the top hole, and usually on B-bodies, whenever we pull the measurements, it sets this and it's dead on. So I've got my door on here. My door then sets my rocker, because this point of the rocker right here, I'm not sure if you can see it, I can't see it, but this point of the rocker is gonna profile with the edge of the door. So now that I've got my door centered on this, I've got it, my measurement right, my door's hanging, I can slide my rocker in and line my rocker up with the edge of my door. My profile on the bottom's good, my door's set in. So now my door is designated where it's supposed to be. So now when I build the back of the car, my quarter panel is gonna have to move forward or back to make my gap right on my door. Build the rest of the car. Same with the front. Front fender hangs, it's gonna have to meet with the edge of this rocker right here, and it's gonna follow and gap on the front of the door. We started the front and lock everything down because everything builds on it. Camaro, we start right here. Chargers, B-bodies, Cudas, they have a front end. We start up here, but it all builds off of this area. So like right now, this car is mocked up, the front's mocked up, none of the car in the back is mocked up. So all this is getting spot welded. So this here tomorrow, he'll come in, the builder, he'll make sure all his measurements are correct on the front end. He'll call me over, I'll look at them, I'll check them, and then he'll weld all this up, and that locks all this into place. So now nothing up here can move, and all the play's gonna be in the back end. So you're gonna have to move your quarter forward, move your quarter back, whatever it takes to make this door, the door gap, good. Your door's only so big, and it all has to line up. So the reason we start with the front of the car welding up is because this plane right here down and down your rocker is the whole car. If this angle here on your door is not right, your car's not gonna be right. So like I say, we lock up the front, weld up the front first, and then the back, we'll build the whole car in the back, build it all good, get it all working, and then we'll drop parts off and weld them up, the insides up. We'll fit the parts back on, and then we'll do a final fitment on the rear end, on the tail panel section, and we'll weld that final. So that's basically it on the tail panel. This here was done the same way. We basically build the car with screws and clamps, and it'll get tore apart, welded, put back together. So I don't know if we had any questions.
We have a few if you'd like to take a second to go over them. Oh, still we got.
I'm sorry, we're kind of busy with everything. I'm trying to take care of you guys, and I'm trying to get this car done as well. So
Mike and Mary wanted to know if you can ask what to do if gaps are too tight.
for me, I would
move and wiggle, move and wiggle.
I would sand them and weld it up.
I was waiting for old feed to come back up. Sorry, Wes.
Yeah, I don't know. It's got to be the internet, because we lose the internet connection, and we got an old system, and hopefully we get it updated soon.
Our IT guy's supposed to be back tomorrow. So Charlie's on, Double R's on, Mr. Fireman's on. So hey to everybody that's joining. Did anyone notice the feed died when Juby transitioned from the awesome Camaro to that old Ford?
Unreal. Ford.
Gogo said that's why he watches many shows, to learn and incorporate what I learned into what I know or hope to do.
Yeah.
And everybody else is just kind of saying, hey, I just
I'm
wanted
not
to get
sure,
you caught up on comments.
Mr. Fireman, but in the first one before I lost everything, I talked about how I weld and do the tail panel and the drop-offs and why.
And we told everybody to go to your page and subscribe.
Yeah. So I guess we'll go back over here and talk with JJ. So he's done beat it all to heck.
That's right, I'm beating you. But if you'll, I know it's really hard to see people at home, but if you really look at this line, it's a lot tighter and a lot cleaner at this point. I stopped right here.
Sorry,
also.
I'm wiggling.
That's okay.
Trying to get the stand off. Whoop, whoop,
What I
whoop.
would like to do now, GB, is have the DA with a piece of 80 grit, and I can get all this stuff off out of the way so they can see a little bit better what we're doing.
This is the gap he's
See how
talking
much
about.
tighter
That's
that
closed
is?
in.
Look at this down here. See how fat that is?
Yeah. See, we still got some thickness
And
in
how
there.
nice and tight that
girth.
is.
And then we
Mike
got-
and Mary
Skinny, skinny.
asked,
How do you?
what do you do if your gap's too tight? What do you do? I
Well-
said that I sand it, I grind it with a grinder, and if it cuts through, then I weld it up.
Well, it depends on if they have any more room where their fender go forward.
Yeah.
You know, do they have any adjustment at all in the fender to go, if you turn the camera around on the car right here for me. So they're talking about this gap right here.
Yep.
If it's that gap, I was moving the fender.
Oh, but sometimes you can't move. Sometimes if you can't move that fender forward enough to get what you want, something else is wrong. Something else is wrong. But this is where people mess up though, and Juby will tell you this. If you come back to the back of the car, Aaron, please ma'am, you have to start with the ass end of the car and move forward. Sorry for my language. You have to start from the rear of the car and move forward, because this panel does not adjust. This panel is done. It's not moving. Correct, Juby?
Yeah.
It's
So that's the
welded.
opposite of what you just said when you're putting the sheet metal
When you're building
together,
the car,
front,
you build
back.
Now that's
front
different.
to the
Now,
back.
body work, back, front.
Body work.
Well,
back.
Just so they don't think that y'all
Okay.
are trying to contradict
No,
one
no.
another, I was just for
Once-
body work,
once-
back to front.
Okay, so everything, let's start from there then. Everything from here back then, except for the deck lid, the tail panel, the 2/4 panels, when you're doing your metal work, all that is tied in, and once all that fits, that's where we're starting at. Because this is locked down, this is welded, this panel's never moving again unless it gets rear-ended by another car. It's never moving again, which we hope and pray doesn't happen. So when you come to this gap, which leads us to the gap they were talking about between the door and the fender, this panel is not going to move backwards or forwards. So the first thing you have to do is make sure the door fits the quarter. This gap has to be where you want it before you can even think about fixing this gap.
Yeah.
Correct, Judy?
Yes.
Because these two panels will move because they're bolted on panels, not welded on panels. You can move your hinges, and you can move it up and down. You can move your style lines up and down, which these are dialed in pretty nice right here. But to answer their question, you would have to hopefully move the fender forward, but you must start here. You have to start here.
And-
There is no ifs, ands, or buts. You have to start here before you move forward.
And it's like this one, you can see that the door profile is the same as my rocker because I built it with this door and this. So I built it with this door and everything's fitting to this door. If you go change this door out, the next door is probably not going to fit. That's why I like to build it with the car, with the parts that is going to be on that car. Some people bring their cars here, we build them, they bring us old doors, then they get home and they decide I want to put new doors on and they buy new doors, they don't fit. Same with deck lids, they do the same
Hoods,
thing.
same thing.
Whatever's going to be on the car needs to be built that way. When I hang this door up here, I can get that gap doing good like it needs to be, and then I can line my rocker up with the front of that, set all that, lock it all in and weld it. We don't ever deal with the front end, but this car, we are. So I mopped this front end up. It took 2 days to get this thing up and to where it's at, and it's still not 100%, but it's there and it's workable. I can still shim this, I can move it, I can undo the bolt on the bottom. You can shim the inside, it's got a bolt in here, and that'll, if you move it out, it's gonna open the gap. You move it in, it's gonna close the gap.
And a lot of people mess up too. A lot of people don't have a big fine shop like what we have here. A lot of people don't have a perfectly level floor. A lot of people understand if they've got the car on jack stands, or if they're working in their driveway that may be concrete, but that driveway's not level.
Yeah.
So they're out here and they think they got this quarter where they want it, and then they let it down and go jack up the other side and start welding, and then they come back over here and this is way off, and it's because you have to have a flat platform.
That's why the floor here
taught me that.
The floor is not level in here by any means.
And that's why we have jigs.
We have jigs, and we level them, especially on the B-bodies and stuff. They have to be level because we have a laser on them. The Camaros don't have to be, but as long as all our measurements come off of the jig with our tools, then we can set it to where it needs to be. This car, if you notice, it's not on it, but you can look up underneath it, and I have it sitting on the frame. So when this car gets body work and comes apart for paint and then goes back together back on the frame, all my bolts are screwed down on my floor. I've got new body bushings and everything in it. So when it goes back together, I'm going to take them apart, basically labeled, and they'll go back in here. So when I set the car back on, I don't lose none of this. It's going to change, trust me, it will.
But fingers crossed, that extra step will help.
People talk about building them on a rotisserie. Mine's a rotisserie build. If it's a rotisserie build, it's wrong.
I guarantee you that for sure.
We see them build them on lifts too, and I don't know how you're doing it with the front and the back end bowing down.
Out and on the lift, I'm building an Alpha on the lift in the back. But
that's because that car weighs 3 pounds.
you at least have to have, especially a Camaro, especially any type of unibody car. Even though I'm not saying you can't build the car in your shop if the floor is not level. I'm not saying that at all. But you need to take the time to make sure the car is level before you start temporary screwing panels on, and before you start doing tack welds or welding stuff solid, because if you weld it there, it's probably going to stay there, and now you just got a really big mess, and that's something none of us wants to get into, because now you're destroying the new panels you bought. You just got a big mess. So you want to make sure that even if your floor is not perfect, you can still do it. But you can jack stands. I make adjustable jack stands. You can spin up and spin down. Don't be afraid of level. Don't be afraid to be a carpenter and break it out. My
advice, if you ain't going to take the time to build a jig to build the car on, you need to build the car on its suspension.
If you're pay us to do it.
There you go.
Yeah, or pay us.
We'll gladly do it.
But if you're going to build it, any car that comes in here that I don't have a table for, I build it on its suspension. I lift it up at the wheel areas. I put jack stands under both wheels, and I put jack stands up under the front end, under the wheels, the A-arms or whatever. I've learned that build it on the suspension, that way it's sitting where it would ride at.
Go-Go says he grinds and welds if he can't move it.
And I hope I didn't confuse the couple that was asking about the fender and the door gap. I hope they understood. I hope I didn't confuse them by moving all the way back to the quarter and coming forward, but that's just the way it has to happen.
It's a fender gap adjusted hinges too, is what they said in response.
Okay, yes, you definitely can do that, but you got to start with the quarter and the door and move forward.
Yeah.
But if nobody ever tells somebody that, they're fighting a fight up here. They'll never win.
Right, because then you'll have to go.
And the door won't open and close properly. And it can be very, very frustrating if you don't know what's going on.
Had a couple more join. Hey Nick. Hey John.
What's up? So what do we got to do now?
Well, I just kind of stopped hammering and dollying because you were talking over there, because it's making a whole bunch of noise. I know this looks bad right now, but
I don't know.
I'm gonna finish hammering and dollying this right here, and then once I'm gonna take the DA and clean all this off so I can kind of see what's going on.
This was not that bad, but it could be tightened up a little bit.
Mr. Fireman, we went over the removing of the epoxy coating. They said yes,
Yes.
we do. That does need to come off. It will be coming off
It's a preference.
because there could potentially be rust underneath.
It's a preference. It just, a lot of people don't trust the factory. You know, all these panels from any of these companies comes with, you know, the e-coating. You know, and a lot of people don't trust that, and they want to cut that off.
We've had some
But if it goes to the blast shop and then it's been epoxied, trust it. Trust the blast man.
Yeah.
He's done his
Yeah.
job. Ain't that right, Sandy John?
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
But from the warehouse, you don't know who did the
That's right.
epoxy. You can't. I
Who or
wouldn't.
where?
I wouldn't trust it.
Nope.
That's like this one. When it went to Sandy John and it came back, Sandy John sandblasted it, and he painted all this. And this is with the epoxy primer. So I wouldn't remove it because it's the actual stuff for the bare metal. It's made for it. And he was dry because he won't even bring us a car if it's raining.
Or if it's thinking
And
about
that's
raining.
Right
exactly
here.
what I was saying.
Yeah.
However, let me interrupt you for a second right here, Juby. If you have a brand new, a new door from, say, AMD or whoever, you don't have to strip all this inside
Yeah, I
stuff.
wouldn't. That's what I told him.
would
I
only
wouldn't do the inside,
only
just
do
the out.
I only do the exterior panel because a lot of people don't understand. They start trying to grind and cut every little bit of primer off. This is going to be fine. It's going to be safe. With the exterior, definitely cut it off so you feel
That's what I was
better.
saying about this.
Epoxy, X prime it, whatever you want to do.
If you got this panel and the floor, like I said, I wouldn't do none of the floor. I wouldn't do
No.
none of this, because if that flashes up and starts to rust or whatever, or the paint starts chipping, you can fix this without doing major body work. You can clean it off and you can fix it. You're not messing up a $70,000 paint job. The outside, remove it. That way you can make sure that it ain't, and when you paint over it, you ain't gonna have to worry about nothing popping up, paint start chipping. This in here, it don't cost that much to repair
It's
it.
covered with door panels.
Yeah,
and
it's going to be
everything
covered
else.
with fabric, but whatever.
But you also, if you're not doing your own paint and body work, check with whoever's going to be doing your paint and body work. He may have a little bit different opinion, but he would probably agree to strip the outside panels. So, because if they're any kind of reputable shop, they're going to want to know that they started from bare metal up and it's exactly what they know is on
Yeah,
the
because
car.
sometimes this stuff, we don't know what they spray on here. This stuff might have a reaction with the paint.
Very true.
I don't know. I know I've had stuff that I painted and it had reactions with what kind of primer I used, and it messed up.
It
You
comes
mean
off.
my purple truck?
It
Yeah.
comes off very easy though, so it's
Yes.
not a huge. I mean,
No.
you can cut it with 80 grit, 180. It comes off really easily. So
Yeah,
it's very thin.
we knock it off with Scotch Brite when
Yeah.
we go to weld. It's not.
That's what I'm saying. It's not a big deal. So
I kind of agree with Scott. He said scuff and shoot the interior. Unless there's indication of porous coating and rust, don't worry about it.
I got it. Just don't have to stand.
Yeah. Well, I can get a
Best looking stand you can have right now. Got it.
Got to be more careful.
671 GMC says, I can't believe you're putting tools on the hood.
Oh, we ain't even started with that.
Ken said you be putting stuff all over his baby. Have to get on them, y'all.
Yeah.
If y'all don't mind me hammering, I'll go over and
Oh, yeah.
start beating and banging on that, and we'll get that done. To be honest, I didn't bring my DA. If you have a DA with some edge here done, I'd like to clean this up for the see how it looks kind of ragged, but when I get done, they'll see how smooth it is.
Is that the primer? Is that the stuff that's needed?
Correct.
That's what Craig said to order, and that's. And I thought it was gonna be really expensive, but it wasn't. But it wasn't but $110.
It's not bad.
What do you
All right,
need?
so I will remove the stuff. I'm not gonna worry about it. I don't know why y'all worry about that kind of stuff. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm gonna finish working this out on the bottom right here.
If that didn't make your guy's skin crawl.
Yeah, this I gotta weld this up.
Well, we gotta pull it off and flip it.
Anyways,
All right.
and I've got.
You mean the whole? We still got to weld the other corner.
Yeah, I got to
too.
fix that corner.
And
of
it's
the,
all jacked up high, but a lot of people think that's not hurting the car. That's not hurting that car. Now, if you turn this guy around, but no, it's not hurting the car. We're gonna give it all love. It's gonna be gloss black. It's gonna be
we'll
beautiful.
put tons of Bondo on it. We'll do
No,
it.
we are not.
We'll do it like Pimp My Ride. Pimp My Ride.
It really is a good tool holder, though.
It does. It's a nice surface.
say that.
Nothing's rolling off. Hit the floor.
You know, they say this is the official thing of NASCAR. Goodies.
Goodies. Did you just steal my last goodies?
I just took the latest goodies because I'm about to have a stroke from all this hammering on my car here. So did AR
Garage? I did not see him return, so we'll have to find a way to get in touch.
I think he's the guy over in Alabama. I think I'll follow him on YouTube, so I can find him and get him a shirt.
I'll show you real quick. Come in my office. I'll bring it out here. If you can see, this is my medallion book. Mr. Andy Bruce is so awesome. He takes great care of us here. And this is our weld through primer by Medallion. RS-512. We love this stuff. But it's like gold. You see all the black we have, and only 3 weld through primers because it's hard to get a hold of that stuff right now, and I have to tell my builders to be very careful with it. Use as much as you need, but not a bit more.
Flat. Sometimes when you get right here, if you got that flat head, you start running with that flat head, you really start putting dents that's unwanted. So this is a nice rounded head. You can just gently move that metal carefully without, because that's such a sharp edge.
Yeah, that looks like my Martha Stewart hammer.
Right. Well, that's my Snoop Dogg hammer over there.
Uh-oh.
They're best friends.
They are.
Besties.
Martha Stewart and Snoop Dogg.
They are best friends.
They're tight.
They have a TV show together.
I guess since she went to jail, she got gangster.
Well, she didn't narc.
I love this file. It's crazy.
Usually I like to use this one.
Yeah,
I do have these in here.
that's high quality right there. That's a hollow dolly. What you gonna do?
I don't know what I'm gonna do with it.
That's one thing I was gonna try to tell people what on dolly and off dolly was, and I got sidetracked a while ago. But we don't really need an off dolly effect, but maybe on a different episode.
I ain't got a clue. I got
DA? Yeah. Can you hold this? Because I need to work on it. I don't want to work it through. We're just trying to true that style line up.
I've got a headache from watching this. But you know what? If it gets messed up,
Craig will be back to fix it.
no, I can fix it. Because they make all these panels.
They do.
I put them on there one time, I can put them on there again.
Yeah, we got this.
I was gonna watch a YouTube on this.
All right, now I want to take that DA and clean it up so the folks at home can see Because it looks crazy right now what I'm doing. It's like, what is this guy doing?
Why are
It's
you
just,
tearing it up?
it's just scratches everywhere and it's, you know, messing it up. But
Wes Perry told your dad, sorry for calling your baby an old Ford, and your dad said, I wish it was mine, Wes. To me, that is the prettiest car ever made.
it's just another Ford.
And Wes says she's coming together, Ken. I'm sure you will be pleased with the finished product. We love you and Layla. Y'all have a good walk on the beach.
Must be nice, huh?
Must be nice.
Where did my part holder go? Now the camera lady's having to hold the parts. It's hard to find good help.
I'm telling you.
I'm gonna smooth this up. Well, a lot of people want to take a DA and they want to turn it wide open and run it
And crank it to...
and crank it down, but I mean, people don't understand DA stands for dual action. It's not a grinder, so don't run the DA wide open. You know, everybody thinks they're doing something, but they're not. And I've learned a lot from Craig on this too, to even slow myself down even more just from what Craig is talking about. Yeah, this is Craig's speed, like right here. And I'm kind of right in there, but nobody that doesn't know what they're doing. They're like, that's Juby right there.
I said, you know me, I had to run to the bathroom.
You good? Oh, yeah, funny. Guys, I'm gonna smooth this up so they can see what's going on right here. And this is another opportunity when you're doing a car of this caliber, something that's gonna be so perfect. You know, you have the opportunity now to make your line sharper or duller. You see how nice this is now compared to where we started? It's pretty smooth. But this is what everybody doesn't want to do. They're so worried about hammering and dollying their panel on. They're worried about this. Well, that's just part of the program. It is what it is. Primer to fill that in. It's just what it takes to make it slick. You can see how fat this still is, though. See how fat that is? See how round looking it is?
That was
See,
actually.
That was done
I don't
with
know
the
if we did
Skinner,
it with the
wasn't it?
Skinner or not.
And I hope they can see at home, but this, see how much nice and
See, look, it's
tighter?
nice and fat, and the closer you get out here, see how it gets nice and tight out on the corner?
And then there
That's
it
good
is, it's
stuff right
all
yonder.
tied in.
Mm-hmm.
What's the percentage?
Oh.
Oh, no!
Sorry, Timmy. I didn't mean to get you. Man of steel right
Ain't no need.
there. He's used to working. He said, I was already got it, didn't matter.
I figured you was trying to clean it off.
That line's still not where I want it. It's kind of where I stopped, but it kind of does a hoop-de-doo. So we'll planish that back down a little bit and make sure that line's nice.
We're using hoop-de-doo now.
There it is, a hoop-de-doo. Hoop-de-doos don't work with black cars, you know what I'm saying? Hoop-de-doos do not work on black cars.
Okay, y'all can see, usually I talk a lot, but I'm being quiet and then I'm trying to listen to JJ and watch and learn because I have no idea.
Never too old to learn.
Can y'all see the difference right here though? What I was talking about, you got all these places down here that are still kind of hoop-you-doing is what I said, you know. But, you know, we like to work the metal down so that we have the least amount of filler / primer, but this would absolutely prime and block at this point. And you see how nice and tight that line is? Now we can actually put this door back on the car, align it to the fender, and make sure we can spend the amount of time on that fender just the same, whether it's a factory fender or an aftermarket fender, to make sure that it fits. And these lines are this nice, and that is what makes your SEMA cars your super duper high quality in cars. But that's what it takes. And that's just one little section, so you can only imagine how much more time we're going to have in the fenders and the rest of the doors. But we're making good progress.
What grit are you using right now?
This is 80 grit.
80. That's what somebody
Don't
guessed.
get crazy with 36 grit.
No.
Leave it alone.
That'll eat through the door, won't it?
Oh yeah, that's another thing I wanted to say is you get crazy on this right here. Like, I wouldn't push this any further than what I've done. That's it. I mean, I can smooth up the bottom a little bit, but it's nice and smooth. You don't want to, and obviously this car's got, you know, chrome and trim and everything else, but
it's probably about this wide, so.
But you don't want to overwork the metal.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want, well, if you keep grinding and grinding and grinding, even with 80 grit sanding and sanding and sanding, you know, you'll break through and then you're right back where you started.
Speaking of.
But we treat, well, I try to treat my panels as if they're not getting any chrome, any door handles, anything, so the car is as straight as an arrow as it can be, if that makes any sense. What I just said, if you just treat it like it's going to look just like this, then it'll be definitely gorgeous once the trim goes on.
671 GMC asked, how did this shop get picked to build this car for SEMA?
We picked ourselves.
Kind of did.
I do
This
stuff
guy,
in a lot of magazines like Street Trucks. I built, been building Project Bernadette in the Street Trucks magazine, and I was asked to do some more stuff for Modern Riding magazine, All Chevy Performance Road Trucks magazine. I've been doing stuff for them. Well, this car was, I was building it here for a customer, and then I got approached by Modern Riding to build this car for their booth at SEMA, and it turned into the SEMA build for Modern Riding. So now it's going to be, actually should be this month coming out. This car should be in it from the beginning. Firewall, upper cowl, lower cowl replacement, and then on. So all the articles for the car are being worked on. This right here, technically, I'm supposed to be photographing this and getting this section of it, but since we're live tonight with this, I'm not going to do it.
Do it on the next.
On the next door, I will definitely be taking pictures and doing this for the magazine so that they can print it out and explain that this is the process and this is how this car was done. So,
and we've talked about it, well, Juby's talked about it on some other videos. Even with it being a SEMA build, this is still a customer car, so we have to stay within the customer's budget. But we've been lucky enough to get quite a few sponsors to you know, sponsor some of the items. And we've also been lucky enough that the customer has kind of given Juby free reign to use his vision, and he's kind of pulled in his dad, and I'll let you explain that.
When I first started here, Craig had a 63 Galaxie fastback in here on a table, and I was like, cool, we build those. He's like, no, we don't build Ford. I love the 64 Galaxies. It's probably one of my favorite cars, and we don't build them. So for years of knowing Mark with AMD, the owner of AMD, him coming here, He's like, when are y'all gonna build Fords? When are y'all gonna build Fords? And Craig's like, if you leave it up to Juby, he'll build them. But me, I'm not building them. So Mark would always come in and tell me, you need to talk him into building Fords. You need to talk him into building Fords. So this car came. We took this car in, decided to, because parts have been getting, we haven't been able to get parts. So we're like, okay, we'll try and open the Ford line up and start building Fords. So we took on this one, and I wanted to do it, so we wasn't gonna do it through the shop. I was doing it for the customer as a side job and also as a magazine build. It wasn't SEMA, it was just gonna be for articles in the magazine, and it was gonna be built for the customer on my time. So we took the project in, and the car got sold before. The guy that I was doing the 59 Apache for Street Trucks magazine, for SEMA, for the Street Trucks booth, he came up here. He moved here from Florida. He knew the guy that the Galaxie belonged to. He's talked with him, and he left here after I met him for the first time. And he sent me an email because he was talking about the Galaxie, and I was like, yeah, this is so-and-so. He's like, yeah, I know the guy. And I was telling him how I would do it and what I would like to do, but the guy wouldn't let me. He wanted just a basic build. He wouldn't let me go wild with it. And so I talked with Eddie about the way I would build it, and he left. He sent me an email on saying that he loved my work. He appreciated me doing the 59 Apache. So he said, I like your vision with the 64 and how you would do it. So I want you to build it with your vision. Well, I was like, that's great. I would love to do that. So I talked to my dad about it, and I told him, well, my dad has always loved it. This is like his dream car. He loves the 64 Galaxie. He is a Holman and Moody fan, and Fred Lorenzen was his Superman. Superman had nothing on Fred to my dad. So my dad's always showed me videos, and we've talked about it when we hung out about the 64 Galaxies and stuff. So he was showing me this Bones Fab car, and we was checking it out, and he shows me and I show him, and I'm like, Dad, check this one out. Well, I decided that I wanted to get my dad's input on this car more than mine, because I know how much these cars mean to my dad. So it's kind of like I'm having a part of him in this car, even though I'm building it for SEMA. So it's kind of like a reflection of him.
Which is where this came from.
So my dad mine's the aMAYSingMetalWorks.
It's up there, Chief.
And my dad is Imagination. So I decided to add it because it works with it, the Powered by Imagination, because I am really powered by my dad and him and his vision. So I got him to tell me how he would do it, and that's how the build decided to be black. The top, the interior, the wheels. We were limited on wheels because, you know, they're sponsoring us. Detroit Steel sponsoring the wheels, so we were limited on the wheel designs. And at first I was like, man, I don't know, you know, whatever, but it's not my car. And then we had the rendering done, and when the rendering came and it had the wheels on it, it was awesome. I was like,
sold.
I love it. And this car, the customers, it had a rear trim option. As you can see, it has the holes here on the lower part. It had a rear trim option on it. This car was an AC car. It had power windows, power locks. It's an XL 500, so it had bucket seats, the floor shifter. It had the premium sound system in it, the Premier. So that meant instead of having one speaker in the front, it had another speaker in the rear, and it had a reverberator in it to give you the cathedral hall sound.
Theater sound.
Yeah, basically. So it was in here. So this car was, you know, it's kind of special in its own way. It wasn't no 427 car or nothing like that. It was a 390 car, and we was going back with a 390. Mopar was going to give us a Hellcat.
Almost out of battery.
Huh?
We got 7%.
The percentage on the camera, 7%. It had a, we were going to get a Hellcat, and I talked with my dad, and I was like, yeah, he wants to put a Hellcat in. They're going to give us one. And my dad was like 390, and I was kind of like, yeah, 390. I want to keep the 390 because I love the engine bay on the Galaxies, and I wanted the look of the car to be clean, simple, and functional, but look kind of factory with slight mods. So I said, I want to keep the 390. Can we do that? The owner said, yeah, that would be great, because I got a vision of how